Hey guys, welcome to Tomes. We are going back into the group of iconic comics. If you don't know what those are, go back a few episodes on Tomes and you're going to see the layout. I talked about them. I believe they're one of the best comic book groups out there today. And so I want to reintroduce you to them if you've not met Iconic Comics. I'm going to probably do a review of some of their new books coming up soon. They're known for things like Long Harbor by Alejandro Mirabal. They're primarily known for Common America, and that's just a fun comic if you haven't read it. I know people get all upset over attractive characters in comic books. Make of that what you will. But some of the lessons are extremely good, and it's a funny comic. Probably my favorite is the one Soulfinder. And so I've got Soulfinder on the shelf over here. Actually, you know what? I moved it just today. And so I got the copies here. And I've done a lot of discussion on Soulfinder 2, but I wanted to go back to Soulfinder 1 for today's discussion. Now, Soulfinder 1 starts off with this picture right here. And what it is it's a picture of the main character, Father Redder, basically surviving an explosion in his Jeep, and he's on fire. Leaves him pretty scarred for the series. And so really, like, once you get to the first page, you see some of the scars on his arm. Later on in the book, you kind of see that he's missing a leg, and so there's some pretty serious injuries as a result of basically the first screen of the comic. Now, as you start off with the text, it says, "The Sunday school kids are asking that age-old question, Father. Why do bad things happen to good people?" And then you see the main character sitting there at his desk, but the woman asking is a woman by the name of Charlotte. Now, one of the really cool things about Soulfinder is it is an exploration of how different people respond to the hardship of life. And so as you saw, Father Redder has the issue. Obviously, he's a war veteran. He's gone through some really serious trauma there. But as you go into his backstory, you find out that, okay, he lost his father when he was a kid, his mom is dying, and his sister and he don't have a good relationship. And some of it seems to be based on his religious choices, or the fact that he can't accept certain things she did, or at least honor them because of his religion. And so all of those are hardships. They're bad things that have happened. There'll be a few spoilers, but I want you to kind of see this, because what's happening is he is being forced throughout the story to respond to the bad things that are happening to him. And so again, his mom is dying. He's taking confessional. He's dealing with some demonic possession. Even that main character, not main character, that side character I introduced, some things come up with her. Now, spoilers. Okay, so if you haven't read it and you want to be completely blind going into it, I recommend doing that always. But what I find interesting is that character, Charlotte, she actually ends up becoming possessed. Now, in this series and in real life, demonic possession often happens as a result of you choosing to allow that possession to happen. You've either chosen to basically give Satan a leg in the door. You've chosen to open yourself up to demonic influence. It's not normally that Satan just comes and possesses you. All right, there's I like the way one guy put it. I was doing some research in this a few years back, and he said it's kind of like territory. Like you've given territory to the demon over and over and over again, and that's why even sometimes when you try to get out of it, you can't. And that's where the power of Christ compels you in real life too. Because there is a level of demonic oppression or possession where you have granted. And again, that's what you see one of the characters in the story doing. And in fact, in Soulfinder 2, okay, I just poked myself in the eye. Soulfinder 2, you see it happen again, where a character actually chooses not to get away from those things, even though he could, because again, that's the way we humans are. Now, what does this all have to do with anything? Well, since we are the channel called Tomes, and since I am tied in with the Janus Project, which is my other channel, I try to do a lot of doctrinal stuff. I try to deal with a lot of Christian doctrine. I try to deal with a lot of what's going on in the world. And I have been reading a book by the name of Why Does God Allow Evil? It's written by a guy by the name of Clay Jones. He's a professor at Biola University. And he has spent 25 years studying out what on earth? Like, why all these terrible things in the world? And one of the really cool things he brings up in this topic of why does God allow evil, and again, just to remind you, the whole reason I'm getting into this is because that is the first question you get asked right off the bat. The character Charlotte is asking, the kids are asking again, why do good things happen to bad people? And so this is a question that comes up over and over and over again. Why does God allow evil? Why does a God who's powerful enough, etc., 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 why does he allow this? Well, Clay Jones gets into it, and he reminds us that human beings are really evil. They're not good. All right. The Bible would put it this way: all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. There is none that do good. There is none that seek after God. There's, it just goes through, just mankind are liars and terrible and grotesque. And so that's one reason God allows man to have free will. And so therefore free will of men is going to be to do evil. But the other illustration that I think plays in actually quite well with the Soulfinder plot points is we are like children. And as we are like children, what happens is, if you've had children, you understand this illustration probably far better than most. But when you have a child and you tell the child, I don't want you to do this, normally you're not doing that just to be spiteful. Normally you have a reason to it. And so when you tell a child, don't do this, and the child decides, I don't believe mom, I don't believe dad, I don't think they have my best interest in mind, that child is going to be willful and is going to go off and do its own thing. In a spiritual sense, that's what we do as well. We look at God and we say, God, your way is not the best way. Your way is not perfect. Your way is not wise. I don't trust you. Whatever excuse comes into our head. And when God says, don't do this, in our mind, if we are willful children, we say, but I'm going to do it anyway. I don't trust you, God. I don't believe you. I don't think you have my best interest in mind. And I think that there's a lot of times where characters, and so in Soulfinder, you have that Charlotte character who obviously, she looks at the world and says, nah, God's way is not the best. God's way is not the way I should go. And so she chooses, like I said before, a lot of demonic possession comes from a choice. Whereas Father Redder, as he is going through his character arc, he is actually exploring the idea of, ooh, I'm being tempted to do the same thing. I'm being tempted to give up. I'm being tempted to despair. I'm being tempted to see, ooh, God's way is not the best way. And he actually has to come to grips with that to the point where, he believes he's lost his mom and he lost his dad and the demon is taking on his dad's form. There's all these things that happen to him, but he continues to say, no. I'm gonna live by faith. I'm gonna trust. And so I think that's a really cool arc that you see with his character, and then you see it happen in the next book, and I'm sure you'll see it going on forward. But again, if you're interested in studying out this issue of why do good things happen to bad people, or why does God allow evil, I really do recommend this book right here, Why Does God Allow Evil by Clay Jones. It's really funny. I've been listening to some of his lectures, and they are almost word for word some of the things in the book, so you can tell he just kind of made notes off of his book. So go look him up. I'll put a link to some of the videos in the description. But again, just another review here, a little plot point and some of the cool things that I noticed as I went through Soulfinder. And again, you can get it at Iconic Comics. And again, if you get a chance, the sequel is really, really cool, and you can see some of my other videos for why I believe that. Guys, this is Tomes, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode looking into some of the plot points here of Soulfinder, and I will see you guys next time. If you haven't done so already, put a like, subscribe. I'm trying to grow the channel. I'd appreciate a little bit of help on this if you guys can. And I'm going to actually be getting ready. I'm working my way through Spy Family, which is a manga I just picked up. And so I hope to expand out a little bit more. I am going to do some more serious books as well. And so I'm studying out the problem of evil and some of those topics. And so you can see issues on both the Janus Project for more the theology side and Tomes for the book reviews. And I'll be getting into more of that coming up. Guys, thanks for viewing, and I will see you next time here on Tomes.